अस्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति। We'll read chapter 1, the human mechanism, the first two topics.
Chapter 1, the human mechanism. The three species. The three species of living beings existing in the world are plant, animal, and human. A plant has only a physical body. It has no mind, meaning no feeling or emotion, and no intellect, no capacity to think, reflect, or understand. Whereas an animal has a body and a mind to feel emotions, but no intellect. Only a human is gifted with all three equipments: a physical body, a mind, and an intellect. You belong to the highest species by virtue of possessing an intellect. The human body has 5 organs of perception and 5 organs of action. The organs of perception are the eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and skin. The organs of action are the hands, feet, and the organs of speech, generation, and excretion. The mind comprises emotions and feelings: love, hatred, kindness, passion, anger, envy, jealousy, etc. belong to the mind. The intellect is the faculty to think, reason, judge, and decide. As a human being, it is your prerogative and prime obligation to develop the intellect and use it at all times. If your intellect is not developed, strong enough to control the mind, you could run into several problems. You cannot afford to let your mind take over your activities without the supervision and governance of your intellect. The role of the intellect. Here is a simple example to drive home the importance of employing the intellect. Offer a sweet to a diabetic person who's fond of sweets. If his intellect is weak, his mind, with its fondness for sweets, would reach for it. He would consume it. Whereas a strong intellect would control the mind's desire and refrain from indulging in it. A person's life in the world therefore depends primarily upon the varying strengths of the mind and intellect. If the mind is strong and intellect weak, he would succumb to the temptations around and yield to them. And when the intellect is more powerful than the mind, he would stand firm and deal with them appropriately. This is just one example of your experiences in life. You must realize the conflict between the mind and intellect goes on all through your life. The senses have a natural tendency to draw the mind to their fields of enjoyment. The eyes carry the mind to beautiful sights and scenes. The ears draw the mind to good music. The nose carries it to attractive smell. The tongue to pleasant taste. The skin to nice feel and touch. Thus, all the five senses enchant the mind to indulge in their respective sensual pleasures. One needs a powerful intellect to be aware of the impact of such sensual attractions upon the mind and protect it from their enchanting influence. A grave problem humanity faces around the world is the total lack of awareness of the intellect. As a result, the intellect remains neglected, unattended, undeveloped. And there is a constant clash between the mind's incessant demands and the feeble intellect's resistance. If, however, the intellect is well built and strong, it would exercise its control and avoid the mind's excessive indulgences in the various facets of life. Hence, it is of prime importance to develop the intellect from early childhood, render it powerful to govern the vagaries of the mind, and direct the senses appropriately.
Human mechanism starts with the fundamental analysis. The fundamental analysis is the species. The three species. The plant, the animal, the human. Upon observation, you see the world, the species is of these three types, broadly speaking. All species has a body, a form. The plant, the animal, the human. All three species has a body. The plant has no mind, no feeling or emotion, or no intellect, or no capacity to think, reflect, or understand. A plant doesn't have this. An animal has a body, and on observation you find they also have feelings, emotions, but they lack the capacity to think. The human beings, you find they have a body, there are these emotions. A unique distinctive feature is the capacity to think. A unique feature, a distinctive feature that makes human being different from all other species. Remove the intellect, no difference between a man and an animal. Remove the intellect, there is no difference, because what they do, humans also do. Aristotle said man is a rational animal. He is also an animal only. Only when the rationality comes, he is qualified to be a human being. The tragedy of today is all effort is made by all human beings to go back to an animal. Effort, so much of effort is made, so much of thinking is done, so much of education is given to a human being. What? Go back to animal. Become an animal. Why? It is feelings that is important. Not the head is not the head is dangerous. Intellect is not the thing. What is important in life is what is important in life is what? The heart, the feelings. That is more important. Go back to go back to go back to animal. Go back to animal. And how much ever you try to go back to an animal, you cannot be happy as an animal. Why? Why you cannot be happy as an animal? They all have a natural protection. They are happy. We don't have a natural protection. We have the capacity to protect ourselves. That capacity to protect ourselves is through the intellect. What is the distinction? Intellect becomes the distinction. Feelings, if you take, no, sir, maybe, all these Vedantic people are also illiterates. That's why you all say this. Plant also has feelings. Science has proved. Plant also has feelings. We ignore that science. Why we ignore that science? Because that science itself is so confusing. They themselves don't know. They themselves keep changing their decisions every day. When they keep changing their decisions every day, how can you take it as a authority? You don't take it as an authority. So science is, we don't, oh, science says it has feelings. Vedantic people don't understand that. I don't know which science has said. And I have asked so many people on science also, on what basis you say it has. It has, because we keep saying that plant has no emotions. You have emotions. How do you understand? If you talk to plants, you will know. And they react. If you talk to plants, you know. They react. And the best place where plants grow so beautifully is where there are no human beings. In the forest. Who's talking to them there? Who's talking to them there? Who's watering them there? Who's doing all this there? It grows by itself. Therefore, human intervention, feelings, showing affection and all to plants is not necessary. If it is necessary, the simple logic, what? Who's doing all that in the forests? That's why it's a jungle, sir. We go and make it. That's why it's a jungle, and we go and make it like a what? Lawn, isn't it? That's why it is forest, is jungle. It looks ugly. We go and make it look like, and we go and make it a beautiful lawn. Huh? So it is very obvious that plant has no feelings, but it has a body and it survives. It has a body and it survives. To that extent, it is very clear. Just because it has no feelings, they don't become inferior. Please understand that. They don't become inferior. They are not designed to have it. Full stop. Accept the fact. Where is the problem? But human beings have problem in accept. We will want to sympathize with plants. We will want to sympathize with animals and murder human beings, isn't it? We will so worry about objects. We will so worry about other things. But when it comes to human beings, we have absolutely no problem in hurting them and causing misery to them. Vedanta says, no, don't live life like that. Live life based on some facts. Have some facts. What is the fact? There are 3 species is a fact. And all that which is common to the 3 species is it has a body. Plant has no feelings, no thinking. Now we come to animals. Animals have emotions. We have seen that. Animals have emotions. the mother zebra tries to protect the younger zebra. It shows affection, isn't it? You have a pet at home, you know, animal can show affection. One thing the animal cannot do is what? They cannot think. But how can we say animals are not thinking, sir? Maybe they are thinking and we don't know that they are thinking. Another argument, isn't it? How can you say animals don't have plants have no feelings? Maybe they have feelings and we don't know it. This is called kutarka, useless arguments. This is called kutarka. We don't entertain, we don't get into those kind of weird arguments, weird way of thinking. We go by facts that is gathered by observation. What is it? When it comes to other species, animals, they have emotions, but they don't think. What is meant by that? How they were living 5,000 years back is how they are living even today. That's how they will continue to 5,000 years later also. They will continue to live in the same manner. But human beings are not living in the same manner. What is the difference? Because of this ability to think. So first thing that we establish is a human being becomes a human being only when thinking is happening. That has to be established very clearly. Only if you understand this, only if you are convinced about this, rest of the Vedanta will make sense. Vedanta is not making any sense at all because we are not even convinced, we are not even understood this first fact. What? Thinking makes the difference. Thinking makes the difference. What is the difference between the other species and the human species? The other species has a natural protection. The human beings don't have a natural protection. Why intellect? What is the uniqueness of intellect? In the case of the other species, there is a natural intervention and emotions are managed. In the other species, animals, there is an emotion. A natural protection given to the cobra is the poison. Take away the poison, the cobra is a rope. Take away the poison, cobra is a rope. And still we will be afraid of the cobra. Yeah. What is the natural protection given to the lion, the tiger, the powerful, the claws? You clip the claws, you clip it. They lose their power. That's how they are tamed. You know that, no? What do? You clip it, it doesn't grow again. The case of a human being, week after week after week, you can keep clipping and it keeps growing. Yeah, pedicure, manicure also we can do, but there they don't have to do any of that. Once you clip it, it doesn't grow. Natural protection. Nature decided to what extent it should grow and it stops. Because they don't have an intellect to keep clipping the nails if it grows. So there's a natural protection. The mother one tries to protect the little one. The predators hunt. Sometimes the mother wins, sometimes the mother loses. Both ways it happens. Sometimes the mother wins, sometimes the mother loses. Look at it when the mother loses the little one. Also look at it when the mother protects the little one. When the mother protects the little one, there will not be a party that evening. Yeah, there will not be a party that evening. They just continue as though nothing has happened. Look at it when the little one is lost. Incredible. No crying, no mourning, no suffering, no nothing. The mother zebra 15 feet away, we look at the predators eating up the little one, and it continues to graze as though nothing has happened. Though the same mother was ready to risk its life a few minutes back. Are you able to follow? It means what? Something is interfering and protecting them. We don't know what it is, but there is a protection. They all have that protection. Now we are coming to human beings. And in the discussion of in the anatomy of the human beings that we discuss, human being na modal anatomy theriyum, isn't it? In the anatomy of the human being, there is the body, there is the mind, there is the intellect. What is the body? Jnanendriyas, karmendriyas. What is the mind? Feelings, emotions, all kinds of emotions. Good, bad, indifferent, doesn't matter. All emotions belong to the mind. Then the third, the intellect. It becomes the primary obligation of the human being. Nitya karma of a human being is to strengthen the intellect. We all worry about the intellect only when we are in misery. Only when we suffer, we quickly want to take a pill and strengthen the intellect and go back. Isn't it? Everybody wants to do that. Whenever a problem comes, a misery comes, a suffering comes, come and take a pill. What pill? Intellect pill. Take the intellect pill and it quickly grows. And then there is no problem. And then you are protected. You are not protected. You can go back and do whatever you want to do. Okay. When you go back and do, what will you do? What will you do? Become more selfish, become more self-centered. That's all. What else a human being does? At least other species don't act selfishly. The human beings act. So what they will do? Go back and become more and more selfish and self-centered. So in the anatomy, first thing we understand what? Something unique is there. Are you okay till now? If you don't take care of that uniqueness, that species will become extinct. If you don't take care of that uniqueness, that species becomes extinct. When we say it becomes extinct, means body will be there, human bodies will be walking around. There are 8 billion human bodies, maybe 8 billion plus also. Even COVID couldn't remove at least half, no? Isn't it? There are 8 billion human bodies walking around. The question that he is asking is, how many human beings are there? 8 billion cars are there. No cars is functioning. Imagine that. There are 8 billion cars and all cars are useless, won't even start. What is the point of having those cars? It's a museum, isn't it? A museum. It is a museum. It is good for looking at it, but it is not capable of doing anything. Why? He says here, as a human being, it is your prerogative and prime obligation to develop the intellect and use it at all times. When you are not doing that, you are not doing your obligation. The problem of the intellect is this. How much ever you keep hearing about intellect is more mysterious. Brahman also is not mysterious. In this classes, Brahman is very easy. Srikant. Even Shankaracharya will feel inferior if he looks any one of us. Because that so much we know about Brahman, even Shankaracharya doesn't know. Ask any one of us to give a discourse, then we will know how wise we are. Ram Subramanian, correct? Yeah, that's all. Thank God nobody is listening to us. Other Facebook and Twitter is there. Even if nobody is listening, you can keep typing and posting. And then you see nobody is watching it. Still, it doesn't matter. You have posted. No. What is the human being? What is the human being made up of? The intellect. And intellect seems to be more mysterious than God. Brahman is easy, but intellect is more mysterious. Why? From the beginning, any discussion about intellect, we switch off. Any discussion about intellect, any discussion about strengthening the intellect, we simply switch off. Even if we are alert, we want to outsource that. Even if we are alert, we want to outsource that. And what is the first outsourcing? Human beings are best in outsourcing, no? Not our job. It is their job. The first outsourcing, schools and teachers, poor things there. Huh? Poor thing the school teachers, poor things the schools. Because all this should be taught in the schools, sir. Schools and teachers, this problem would not happen. It cannot be taught in the school. It cannot be taught in the school. It cannot be taught there. It has to be taught at home. If it has to be taught at home, people at home should have it. Yeah, if it has to be taught at home, people at home should have it. People at home don't have it. So what will they do? They want to outsource. And first is the schools and universities outsourcing. Second outsourcing is sir, Vedanta classes I want to send my children to. Second outsource. Send them here, intellect will develop. Isn't it? The fellow who's talking itself is very confused whether that person talking has an intellect or not. Forget about the why it is so difficult. Why it is so difficult to comprehend it? Paradox of life. Remember the paradox of life. It is so difficult because of the paradox. The importance of education is understood by the educated. Paradox is that. Remember the paradoxes of life. You will understand it. What is the paradox? Who understands the importance of education? Logically speaking, children should understand, no? Logically speaking, who should understand the importance of education? Children, isn't it? If any child wakes up in the morning and says, I'm getting late to school, house is a torture, isn't it? The house is so miserable that it wants to run away from the house because child cannot understand the importance of education. Who understands the importance of education? Paradox. The educated understands the importance of education, not the children, isn't it? Similarly, one who has an intellect understands the importance of intellect. There we are caught in that cycle. Where to start? There we are caught in that. To understand the importance of education, you have to get educated. Then where do you start? That is where Shraddha comes in. You have to start with Shraddha. The capacity of the intellect starts with Shraddha. We are going to see all that. Thesis on God, we saw so much about God, we all became God. So we thought, okay, let us come back to our levels and go from the basics instead of, because it had a intoxicant effect, isn't it? Ganja effect it had. So to neutralize that and come back to our levels and start from the basics, we have come back to Holocaust of attachment. And why this Holocaust of attachment? This text talks about what is the problem. What is the problem that God is not realized? What is the problem? Attachment is the problem. And if you have to understand this, you need to go from the basics. What is the basics? The uniqueness of the human being. What is the uniqueness of the human being? Intellect. Why it is so unique is because other species has emotions. Other species has emotions, but they don't have selfishness and attachment. Human beings have emotions plus selfishness and attachment. And the plus is the problem. All species has emotions. Human beings has emotions plus selfishness plus attachment. All other species wants to survive. They are not self-obsessed. Human beings wants to survive and self-obsessed. There are the differences. Once you understand these differences, then you will know what is the role of Vedanta and how important and how valuable is this intellect. All other species has emotions, but they are not self-obsessed. They don't keep talking about themselves all the time. You will not find a single human being who will not talk about oneself, isn't it? You will not find a single human being who will not talk about oneself. You will not find a single animal who is self-obsessed. Therefore, we find what is creating problems is certain extra things that human beings have added. And how to get rid of that? Intellect. And intellect is so mysterious. Paradox. What is a paradox? One who has an intellect understands the importance of intellect, isn't it? One who is sick understands the importance of health, no? When you are healthy, you do everything to ensure that you are going to become sick, isn't it? When you are healthy, what will the human being do? They will do everything to make sure that they will become sick. After becoming sick, paradox. When you are healthy, why you didn't keep it alive? When you are healthy, why you didn't keep it alive? Isn't it? Mind, emotions. So paradox. Because of paradox, it is mysterious. Why it is mysterious, this intellect? This intellect is so mysterious because of it being the paradox. So the first topic. What is the first topic? The three species. Says what? You look at yourself in the mirror, you can only see one thing. What? The body only you can see. You can't see the mind and intellect. When you take an X-ray CT scan, what can you see? The body only you can see. Isn't it? What is CT scan? Okay, imagine we all have a see-through skin. Imagine we all have a see-through skin. See-through skin and artham. All our eyes are CT scanning only all the time, isn't it? There is the layer of skin that is covering. So you go to medical sciences, they do all this. What do they see? Body. In the body, they don't see the mind and intellect. They can do the scan of the heart, they will not find the mind. They can do the scan of the brain, they will not find the intellect. Brain they can find out. But what they can't find out is the mind and intellect. Why? It is sukshma. It is subtle. Basics idalla. It is sukshma. It is subtle. Anything that is concerning the subtle, shraddha is required. Anything gross, you don't need shraddha because senses are going to teach you that. If mind and intellect can be seen, you don't need Vedanta, because senses, pratyaksha itself can teach you that. Because it is sukshma, subtle, you cannot. Even if you take the Einstein's brain and do a CT scan, you will not know how much he knows, no? These are the days of transplanting, isn't it? These are the days of transplanting. Heart also gets transplanted, isn't it? If heart is the seat of emotion, this person already has X amount of anger, jealousy, irritation, frustration, depression, suffering, etc. This heart already has something. The another heart also has the same thing, isn't it? So when you're transplanting the heart, can you say you are transplanting anger, jealousy, greed, etc.? Are you transplanting that? If heart is that, then what are you actually transplanting? No, you are only transplanting the grosser organ, which is of the body, but it has got nothing to do with the mind or intellect. Very important. Otherwise, you are doing the greatest harm by transplanting, no? Otherwise, you are doing the greatest harm by but you don't. That doesn't get that doesn't get transplanted. Why? It is sukshma, subtle. The mind and intellect is subtle by nature. Of the mind and intellect is still subtler. Indriyani paranyavuhu indriyebhyah param manah manasastu parabuddhehe yo buddhehe paratastu saha. Kathopanishad. Kathopanishad. The hierarchy is so clearly established, which Krishna quotes in the Bhagavad Gita, end of chapter 3. Indriyani paranyavuhu indriyebhyah param manah manasastu parabuddhehe yo buddhehe paratastu saha. Buddhiku மேல ஒருத்தர் இருக்கிறார், அவர் தான் சஹா, he. And we are going backwards. Saha lend we are coming to the intellect. From intellect we should go to Saha. Are you able to follow? That's what he did in Bhagavad Gita. This is what is said in Kathopanishad, and whatever was said in Kathopanishad, Krishna quotes it at the end of chapter 3. Verse 42, chapter 3. மனோகர் உடனே ரெஃபர்லாம் பண்ணாதீங்க. ரெஃபர் பண்ணி உடனே குரூப்ல வேற போஸ்டிங் இல்லையா? சும்மா ஏதோ ஒரு கோட் பண்ணா கம்முன்னு அதை விட்டுட்டு அதுக்கு ஒரு ரெஃபரன்ஸ், ஃபைண்ட் த ரெஃபரன்ஸ் அண்ட் தென் கிவ் அ கமெண்ட்ரி அண்ட் தென் ஹிஸ் ஓன் கமெண்ட்ரி. ஐ எம் வண்டரிங் வேர் இஸ் இட் செட் தட். இதெல்லாம் சொல்லவே இல்லையே. வேர் இஸ் இட் செட்? மனோகர் கரெக்டா தான் பேர் வச்சிருக்கிறாங்க, வைஸ் மேன் அப்படின்னு. நைஸ் நேம் தே கெப்ட் ஃபார் யூ, வைஸ் மேன். Whoever kept it, your father and mother, they are really wise. Indriyani paranyavuhu indriyebhyah param manah manasastu parabuddhehe yo buddhehe paratastu saha. In the hierarchy, what is the subtlest? Intellect is the subtlest, and it's a paradox. What is the paradox? You need to have an intellect to understand the intellect. Just as the importance of education is understood by the one who is educated, not the other way around. Logically speaking, who should understand the importance? Ignorant person should be in the queue to join, no? Yeah. Who are in the queue to join the children in the school? Parents only, isn't it? No child goes. Parents, grandparents, great-grandparents, uncle, aunt, yeah, contacts. Narayanji, I also call you, no? Contacts. Why? Because it is the who goes and stands in the queue. No child stands in the queue. Paradox. So he says, if your intellect is not developed, strong enough to control the mind, you could run into several problems. The could you can underline the could. You are running into several problems. You are running into several problems because that intellect isn't there. Therefore, We saw the anatomy, and straight away we have come to what the intellect is. But sir, what about the mind? Don't worry, except the next two topics, rest of the whole book is about mind only. The first two topics, the role of the intellect. In fact, the role of the intellect is the only topic. I think the next topic itself is the power of the mind, I think the next topic itself is the power of the mind. Therefore, don't think that we are missing the mind. We are going to discuss only what the mind is. In order to discuss the mind cannot do that. Mind cannot do that. Just as eyes cannot hear, mind cannot think. Remember that. Just as the eyes can't hear, will you say deaf eye? Prasad, can you say that? It doesn't have, it's not, that instrument is not designed for that, full stop. That instrument is not designed for that. Similarly, with the ears, you cannot think. Similarly, with the mind, you cannot think. With the mind, you cannot think. With the mind, if we can think, then why need a separate instrument? There's no need for a separate instrument. The fact that there is a separate instrument means it has an exclusive function. It has an exclusive function. What is that exclusive function? Thinking. The importance of the intellect is understood by the one who has an intellect, and they go on and on and on teaching us to strengthen it, to develop it, to strengthen it. And we are happy to strengthen the intellect of others. We are so happy to strengthen the intellect of others, because if everybody's intellect around me is strong, I'm all right, no? Shankar, correct? Huh? All of us are trying to strengthen the intellect of the others. Why? Because if their intellect are strong, I'm all right. Why should I bother? Isn't it? Vedanta says you have to strengthen your intellect. You have to strengthen your intellect. In order to do that, in order to strengthen that intellect, you need a specific knowledge. That specific knowledge is Vedanta. Vedas. Veda. When we say Vedanta means Vedas, Vedanta all put together in one word. Is a specific exclusive science developed only for the purpose of the intellect. This is the first topic. The three species. Of the three species, the human being. Of the human being, the intellect. Now comes the second topic, the role of the intellect. What is the role of the intellect? Okay, why intellect? When we discuss the intellect, why intellect? A human being needs an intellect because of 4 reasons. The first reason is it's the natural protection. The second reason is to handle the nature of, to understand and relate with the world properly, the nature of the world. Intellect is needed because to handle the nature of the world. Number 3, gravity of the mind. Number 4, the choice of action. Intellect is needed. The choice of action, the gravity of the mind, the nature of the world, natural protection. The role of intellect starts with this. All that comes natural to a human being is detrimental. It's a law. Remember this. All that comes natural to a human being is detrimental to human being. All that is evolutionary comes through knowledge and effort. But natural means it's natural, no sir. What is problem in it? Since it is natural, why can't we just leave it like that? It is natural, why can't we just leave it like that? Correct? It's natural, no sir. No species brushes their teeth, no. It's natural not to brush the teeth, no. Correct, huh? We have to. It's unnatural. You know that, no? It's unnatural. Is it unnatural? No. If you don't do that, you are finished. Animals are taken care of. If you don't do it, you are finished. All that comes natural is detrimental. Nails keep growing naturally. Why can't you just allow it to grow? Why do you have to keep clipping it? You have to. Why? Just because it is natural doesn't mean it's right. One of the biggest ignorance, the mind says natural. It's natural, sir. It's natural. Natural doesn't mean it's right. Why? Because it is detrimental. To whom? To one's own welfare, it is detrimental. Therefore, why intellect? All that comes so natural to a human being is detrimental. Why? In other species, now the comparison study should help you. In other species, nature interferes and disconnects at some point. They are protected. In the case of a human being, there is no natural interference and cutting and protecting. Therefore, it is very essential for a human being to act differently. It's natural to get angry, correct? It's natural to be jealousy. It is natural to be self-obsessed. It is natural to be selfish and self-centered, isn't it? It is natural. Hunger is natural, sir. No animal overeats. No human being eats rightly. Where is the problem? No animal overeats. No single human being eats rightly. Either overeating or undereating. You know, no animal has to go through fasting program. All religions advocate fasting program to human beings, no? Why? Human beings, human beings. Human beings means human beings. Species that need not exist at all, isn't it? Why? It's natural to, hunger is natural, no sir. Sleeping is natural, no sir. No animal will have a sleeping problem. All human beings will have a sleeping problem. Either we can't sleep or we can't wake up, isn't it? Either we can't sleep or we can't wake up. So what all we call as natural is not natural as far as a human being is concerned. Full stop. That has to be very clearly understood. Then only intellect will be clear. Then only the role of intellect, importance of intellect will be clear. Correct? No animal can eat when it is not hungry. The example he gives. A human being alone can eat even when one is not hungry. Why? Allah இருக்குது sir. Taste is very good. Taste is very good. I'm eating. Why can't you also eat? If you are hungry, you are eating. I'm not hungry. Why should? Why should I eat? So there is all that comes natural to a human being is detrimental if not guided. That guiding factor is intellect. Therefore, we understand why intellect. Why this intellect? Because of these reasons. What is intellect? The penetrating capacity. What is intellect? Intellect is that penetrating capacity. That's the Gayatri Mantra prayer. Let my intellect be as sharp and penetrative as your rays. Let my intellect be as sharp and penetrative as the rays of the sun. What is penetrating capacity means? Look at the seed, you understand the tree. That is penetrative capacity. You look at your today, you can understand your tomorrow. That's penetrative capacity. Look at your present, you can know your future. That's penetrating capacity. It means what? The capacity to see the invisible in the visible. Something you see, something is invisible in that. Intellect, you need to see that. What is intellect? The capacity to see the invisible in the visible. You see something, and something is there which you are not able to see. This is the intellect. Now we are going to discuss intellect as an instrument. We defined what intellect is. Penetrative capacity to see the invisible in the visible. Now we are going to see intellect as an instrument. What is intellect as an instrument? Intellect as an instrument is an impartial discriminative function. All this we should be knowing already. What is intellect? Intellect is an impartial discriminative function. That's what intellect is. How do we say that? Because knowledge in itself is pure discrimination. What is knowledge? Knowledge in itself is pure discrimination. And intellect means knowledge. Knowledge means discrimination. Means what? No emotions and feelings there. That instrument has no emotions and feelings. Intellect as an instrument has no emotions and feelings. Idella clearer. Mind is thinking, intellect is feeling. At least in the vocabulary, we should be very clear. Mind is thinking, intellect is feeling, eyes are hearing, ears are seeing. If you keep talking like that, and then Aham Brahma asks me how to know, sir. How to control the mind? You are saying ears are seeing, eyes are hearing. You are saying that. When a human being saying eyes are hearing and ears are seeing, and then they come and ask, what is God? How to first understand the instruments, and then we will come to God. Vasanti, Seriya? Modal idhula clarity varum. Isn't it? Eyes cannot hear. Ears cannot see. You can say all the other four you can say. It means what? Intellect as an instrument. What is intellect as an instrument now? An impartial discriminative function. Mind doesn't like this impartiality. Why mind doesn't like impartiality? Because it is self-obsessed, no? It is self-obsessed. Self-obsessed means partial. What is partial? Self-obsessed means partial. What is partial? One rule for me and one rule for others. அதுதான் partial. Correct? Double standards. அதுதான் mind. One rule for me and one rule for others. A person made a mistake. Yeah. They should pay the price. No, that person is your child. Sir, forgiveness is very important, no, sir. Unless we forgive, how will they grow? Oh, okay. You made that mistake. No, it's not a mistake at all. You are wrong. Finished. Where is the problem? You're able to follow? This is how the mind works. And I told you all very beginning. Holocaust of attachment, you will get very irritated. And if you get angry, don't get angry at me. Introductory session, I said that no. Thesis on God, you would have found very happy. Holocaust of attachment, you will get very irritated. Bal Subramaniam. Yeah. And if at all you get irritated, angry, don't get irritated, angry at me. I'm only the tape recorder. I'm only the postman delivering. Yeah. Get irritated at those, whoever is saying that. I am not saying this. Ravi, correct? No? I am not saying. So what is intellect? Intellect is an impartial discriminative function. That's all. Why? Because knowledge in itself is pure discrimination, pure data, pure information. That's what knowledge is. No emotion, no feelings. What happens is, that's what he's going to discuss as the pond later. I think pond is also here in this chapter, I think. Pond is also there, no, Venkat? I think there. Yeah, it is there. Pond is also there. Because emotions and feelings comes and hijacks it. They come and hijack it. So intellect is a natural protection for the human being, where the intellect is very important is emotions and feelings combined with the senses. Emotions and feelings combined with senses hijacks the intellect and uses the intelligence part of intellect to fulfill their desires, resulting in self-destruction. Either prevent பண்றதுக்கு தான் you need an intellect. I said it very fast. Again, I repeat. Emotions and feelings combined with senses. Senses and emotions, feelings, mind. Okay. Understand, the senses and mind are a wonderful combination. They are together. We have seen that in Atma Bodha already. The senses and the mind have a wonderful combination. And when they combine together, what they do? They hijack. They hijack the intellect, the power. They are so powerful and they hijack. And when they hijack the intellect, what they do? They use one aspect of the intellect, which is intelligence, the skill, the technique, for what? To fulfill their demands. By hijacking the intellect to fulfill their demands, resulting in self-destruction. Therefore, intellect as an instrument. First, we saw intellect as the penetrative capacity. Now we are seeing what is that instrument. Mind as an instrument is emotions and feelings. Intellect as an instrument is pure discriminative function. When we say pure discriminative, means impartial. So if at all you want to understand intellect, use it in this sense. Impartial discriminative function is intellect. Why? Because knowledge in itself is pure discrimination. Knowledge in itself is pure discrimination. Now the purpose of intellect. In full intellect, now the purpose of the intellect. What is the purpose of the intellect? Two purposes it has. Two purposes. The one is to seek and gain knowledge. Second is monitor the senses and the mind. Intellect has two purposes. The first purpose is to seek and gain knowledge. Why you seek and gain knowledge? Because you will be disturbed being ignorant. That's why you want to know. No animal has the problem of disturbed by ignorance. Human being alone is disturbed by ignorance, wanting to know. Wanting to know. The animals will look at the sky, they will not think, they will not ask any questions. They are not, ignorance doesn't bother them. Are you able to follow? In the case of a human being, ignorance bothers. Therefore, you have to seek and gain knowledge because ignorance is bothering. Therefore, you have to seek and gain knowledge. The very fact that you are seeking and gaining knowledge implies what? Ignorance. Implies ignorance. When we say implies ignorance, means implies disturbed by ignorance. You can't be peaceful remaining ignorant. I will tell you tomorrow, no, you can't sleep that night, no. I have something very important to tell you. But I'll tell you tomorrow, no, that night you cannot sleep. Why? To know. You need to know. You need everything. The human being is a fundamental instinct of the human being. They need to know. They need to know the past. They need to know the future. They need to know everything. They need to know what is happening in everybody. They need to know what is happening in the stars. They need to know what is happening inside the earth. Everything they need to know. No. Horoscope, we need to know, isn't it? Why? Because we have to seek and gain knowledge. Mind cannot do that. Senses cannot do that. Because all animals are seeing, all animals are feeling, but they are not disturbed like this, no? It means what? There is something very unique here. Animals also have cataract. Humans also have cataract. You can remove the cataract of the animal. You can remove the cataract of the human being. But one thing, what animals are not disturbed by? They don't know, rather they are not disturbed. Human beings are highly disturbed if you don't know, isn't it? 8:30 news, 9 o'clock news, 9:30 news, breaking news, headlines, isn't it? Notifications. It keeps coming all the time. Let us, why? Knowing. What is the intellect? Is the knowledge. Are you able to follow now? You need to know. To seek and gain knowledge. That is the first function of the intellect. The second function of the intellect is what? To monitor the senses and mind. Two purposes the intellect serves. One is to seek and gain knowledge. Why you have to seek and gain knowledge? Seek and gain knowledge implies ignorance and disturbed by ignorance. You understand the loss of being ignorant. LOSS. That's why you want to become knowledge. That's why you want to gain knowledge. Another reason, you have to seek and gain knowledge because by seeking and gaining knowledge, you can manipulate things around and make life better and better and better. And there are two types of knowledges the intellect can gain. And intellect has to gain both the knowledges. The two types of knowledges the intellect can gain is a knowledge, a skill to earn a living plus Vedanta. Intellect has to gain both the knowledges. What are the two knowledges? A skill to earn a living plus Vedanta. Vedanta is common for all human beings. Learning a skill depending upon your individual nature. Are you able to follow? Learning Vedanta is common for everybody. But learning a skill depends on your individual nature. Sir, my individual according to my individual nature, should I study Vedanta? No, no, no. Vedanta is common for everybody. You have no choice when it comes to this. Why you have no choice when it comes to this? Because we have studied, no? We have studied and we are teaching. Therefore, we have to prove how everybody needs this. It's the reality. Take it or leave. This is the reality. Why? Intellect has two purposes: to gain knowledge, to seek and monitor and govern the senses and the mind. Skill part is the worldly knowledge. Monitoring the senses and the mind and governing them comes from Vedanta. That's how Vedanta procures prosperity and peace. This is how Vedanta procures prosperity and peace. Only worldly knowledge means very intelligent person. Only worldly knowledge means that person is very, very intelligent, very skillful, very intelligent, very smart. And what is the definition of what is the definition of a worldly person? What is the definition of a worldly intelligent person? We have said that already. Intelligent, literate, agitated, depressed human being. Only intelligence. Again, Ram Subramaniam, idella marakave kudadu. There are 2 plus 2 equals 4. You will not forget. No, similarly, intelligent human being. Who's an intelligent human being minus the Vedantic knowledge, minus the intellect? Who's an intelligent human being? He is very intelligent, no doubt. Followed by intelligent. Next in Asana. Illiterate. But intelligence not only literate than sir. He doesn't know there is the mind. He doesn't know there is the senses. He doesn't know all this has to be monitored. It means that person is illiterate. Illiterate because he is thinking world is the problem. Literate fellow understands he is the problem. Illiterate fellow will say world is the problem. Adanala he is illiterate. He is intelligent, illiterate. And because of this fantastic combination of intelligence and illiteracy, because of this beautiful, unique combination, agitated. All the time, agitated. Agitated means fear and anxiety. Agitated means anger, fear, adalanda. Depressed. That we need not say. Here we all know what depression is. Either we are continuing to be in depression or we were depressed. Isn't it? But we all know what depression is. And look at the person's certificate. The certificate says, wow. Beautifully in the 7th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, he said, Bahavaha jnana tapasa bhuta madbhavam agataha. He said that in chapter 7. Again, verse number 11, chapter 7. Bahavaha jnana tapasa bhuta madbhavam agataha. Many have come to my being, Arjuna, by jnana tapas. What is jnana tapas? He didn't talk about tapas as in fasting. He didn't talk about tapas as in not sleeping. Jnana tapas. What is jnana tapas? Jnana tapas is gaining this knowledge, understanding this knowledge. Aided and strengthened by Vedantic knowledge, the intellect guides the actions, the choices, the emotions, the feelings. This is the topic. The role of intellect. This is the topic. The role of the intellect. He gave a simple example. That's all. From that example, we derive all this. What is the simple example he gave? Offer a sweet to a diabetic person. What is diabetes? I'm not getting the technicality of diabetic disease. I'm not a diabetologist now. Yeah. Common sense. Sweet is dangerous, detrimental. Knows it. The mind is fond of sweets. He would consume it. Intellect says, don't. A person's life in the world, therefore, depends primarily upon the varying strengths of the mind and intellect. Underline that sentence and by heart it. A person's life in the world depends primarily upon the varying strengths of the mind and the intellect. Meaning, mind is strong, intellect is weak. Intellect is strong, mind is weak. Both are strong, sir. Both cannot be strong. If the intellect is strong, mind is weak. If the mind is strong, intellect is weak. And how to strengthen the intellect? We have seen already. Intellect gets strengthened only through knowledge and understanding. Intellect gets strengthened only through knowledge and understanding. And what is that knowledge and understanding? That we know, Vedanta. Therefore, we come to the beautiful conclusion. What is the conclusion? Vedanta is the only pramanam for strengthening the intellect. There is no other knowledge that can strengthen the intellect. For all other knowledges can make you intelligent. It's a pramanam. We come to this conclusion. We have to come to this conclusion. Again, I repeat. The intellect can be strengthened only by Vedantic knowledge. Why? For intellect can become strong only through knowledge and understanding. And what knowledge and understanding? Not science, not arts, not economics, not mathematics, not MBA, not any of that knowledge. The knowledge of Vedanta. Aided and strengthened by Vedanta, intellect guides the perceptions, governs the choices, governs the mind, and make effective use of the intelligence. Not only it guides the perceptions, actions, and mind, it knows how to make effective use of the intelligence. What is effective use of the intelligence? Loka sangraha. How it can be for the benefit of, how it can be for the benefit. This is the role of intellect. With this, we conclude for today and we'll continue with the power of mind. This is the only area where we are going to talk about intellect specifically, and then it will be about the mind. And from now on, we'll be doing the comparative study. We'll be comparing the mind and intellect, mind and intellect, mind and intellect. Throughout this book, we are going to do this. At the end of the book, you should be so scholarly about mind and intellect that everybody will think you will have an intellect. You will become so scholarly about what mind is and what intellect is. Even the PhD winner psychiatrist will come and fall at your feet, thinking, oh my God, I didn't know so much. And then you can say, all this is only tip of the iceberg. You can go, if you go Vedanta deeper and deeper, you can know, you can show off. We'll continue next week with the power of the mind.